Rwanda in a Chesterfield Louis, Paris a couple of pound girl. You're interested again?
Well, over a bit, Louis, I will, you know, how Nafali is
Okay, maar verliefde.
ja.
Niet door een gewil of om het heen te dat de jaren die naar een avond deel over een verliefde. Maar gestolen we bij een bonline naar Kerkert, geweest van Dani en Basen. There's a great quotation at the end of the autobiography of Lenny Bruce, great Jewish comedian, and he was talking about inspiration. He said, "I'm inspired by every living moment of the breathing day," and it's come up less in literature in Ireland last way than in comedy, and I think the best of the Irish comedians at the minute, somebody who's actually taken comedy beyond being funny, is a man called Tommy Tiernan, and he got into terrible trouble over pushing the boundaries, and he's argued all the way through that there should be nothing beyond the bounds of humour, and I would say the same about poetry. And he argues that if you offend somebody through humour, it's because you were clumsy, not because humour is not applicable to the most terrible things in the world. And I would say the same about poetry, you just didn't get it right. John McGann often said that about the banning of his novels in Ireland, that if they were better written, they'd have got through the sense of it, that it was the clumsiness of the writing. I think he was being a little too gracious.
Wouldn't be the censor, would it? Well intentioned or well read censor that might have been looking at something else.
Oh, I'm sure it was. He just didn't want to be embroiled in the art, but it's an interesting idea. It's the clumsiness rather than the idea of making fun or making a poem out of something unsuitable.
And is that a problem with when you submit your poetry to an editor in the Fulchahori and they're sending you the rejections? They didn't understand you?
That could be, although no, it's usually just they're not good enough. To be fair, I'd have to say, anytime that anything's being rejected after it has been read, the difficulty with many journals in Ireland as in Australia, it's a long time since I sent anything away, but many editors don't read unsolicited material. But anytime that I've had a poem rejected, it was for very good reason, and it was just that it wasn't very well written.
Anybody else?
No. When you listen to music, you know, there are various levels of it. You know, you've rock and roll, you've got jazz, you've got classical, the whole bit. It's the same with poetry. Where do you fit into that level?
I don't quite know is the answer.
You must have an equal.
Well, when you're talking about music, you're talking about different genres,
yeah,
right? And I'm not sure that, I mean, you could say that there are different kinds of poetry, like there are performance poets whose work usually is very political, very angry, and is based on performance in front of an audience and doesn't work on the page. I don't think I'm that kind of a writer. But there's a larger picture as to what it is, you know, how would I fit in the traditional Irish language poetry. I think there are very rare, extraordinary poets who totally transform the language in which they write in the Irish language. There are people like Padraig Pearse, Sean O'Riordan, Maya Vakati, Nuala Ní Dhomhnaill, Martin O'Deary. They're only very small few. And for the rest of us, you try and get through the door that they opened before it shuts behind you, but you're not opening doors yourself. You might occasionally break a little window here and there, and I think that I don't think that after Nuala Ní Dhomhnaill there has been any Irish language poet who was at the first rank, and I don't think that that's a regrettable thing. I think it's good enough to try and follow through on some of the possibilities that they opened up for us. I'm not sure if that's an answer to your question, but that's how I see it. Chat. Visa Majori, so Bahoma Rasa Majori no Narva, Visa Inner Core Shakas. Tan Fucking Diori Nisdain, so Nirvasker Rodain, Ovigash, Vasker Inner Core Vis Aspalia, but near Vas and Nefer or Drola. Just the question is asked, did you feel an exile away from Ireland? Did you feel yourself being drawn gradually home? I was delighted to leave Ireland, and I was especially pleased to be coming to Australia. I knew nothing at all. Actually, I shouldn't say. I knew everything anybody needed to know about Australia because I watched The Sullivans as a child. I knew that Australia was exactly like home. But I mean, it was a very positive experience. I think sometimes I think for a country to have large-scale immigration like Ireland had in the 20s and the 50s and the 80s, and is having now again and will continue for at least another decade, I think that's disastrous for a country. But for many of the individuals, it's a hugely positive thing. I meet very few people of my generation who came to Australia, who stayed here, who regret it in any way. I considered every moment that I lived in Australia a bonus. That by the time it came to come back, it was very clear that Ireland was a place that the next phase of our lives were going to develop in. But it's a very great temptation when writing poetry or songs to regret being a migrant because there's such a strong tradition. But it's a bit like Billy Connolly has a routine about, you know, grown men with tattoos in Glasgow in tenements crying into their drink about the fair fields of Scotland when they've never left. You know, they'd never be further than Green or whatever. And the very same thing applies in Ireland, that there's this terribly sentimental tradition. And there's good reason for that, because it is, like, I think it's traumatic, and it can be very traumatic for some individuals, but it certainly wasn't that for me. In fact, I was one of the last people in my family to emigrate, and I felt I wasn't quite sure what was wrong with me that I didn't get up and go. They'd all been to America and London and all the rest of it. So, and I think from what I can gather, the people who are coming to Australia now from Ireland feel that it's an opening up of the world rather than closing down.
What about the use of songs? You modern music to promote the poetry? Can you about that?
Yeah. I think any number of things. I think almost from the time I started writing poems, I was working with musicians, and I always found it a very positive thing in terms of producing poems, but even more so as a way of breaking down the barriers that exist between people and poetry. There is a huge mental block. It would seem throughout Western culture against poetry. It's something that makes no sense to me that people will read a complicated experimental novel on the tram on their way to work or on the subway or whatever it is, and poetry is somehow supposed to be difficult and too hard because you might have to read one line twice. But I think if you write poetry, you have to accept that there is this sense that poetry is difficult, it's abstruse, and requires something that people feel they don't have. So anything that breaks that down, I think, is useful. And I think songs and poems are closer to each other than either of them is to any other form of writing. There's a much greater distance between a pop song and a short story than there is between a pop song and a sonnet. And I mean, in the Irish language tradition, even more so, that some of the greatest poems survive because they were sung. So it's as a creative possibility, first of all, because there might be something new would come out of the interaction of music. That's part of the interest, but it's also about finding a way. I mean, if I were to do a reading in a town or a city in Ireland and it was billed as a poetry reading, if 20 people turned up, that would be a great turnout. If you're performing with a musician, it can be 300 to 5, it can still be 20 people, or it could be 6, but it at least holds out the possibility that you might perform to a larger audience, and you might have people who would never think of darkening the door of a poetry reading, who suddenly find that they understand everything that you've said, that it has an impact on them in a way they never expected to. And with this most recent book, we included a CD. I've been working the last year and a half with the uilleann piper Ronan Brown to try and find a different way again, not to turn the poem into a song, but to let the speaking voice be the vocal element and try and find a way of surrounding it with music, or matching it rather with music. And whatever with the poems, he's done an extraordinary job with the music, I think. I mean, I think it's one of the ways to go. It's not the only way, but it definitely works. You reach an audience that you wouldn't otherwise. Do you think the same?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree. Because I'm not a poetry person.
Yeah.
As you say, a lot of people think it's too caster,
Yeah.
too complicated to understand. But your poetry is quite accessible, I find.
Well, I mean, I find if I go into school kids and they're resistant to poetry, and you start to talk to them about pop songs that they like, and you get them to think out loud about what it is they like about the song, and they tell you the beat and the singer's voice and the image in the last line or whatever it is, and you say to them, that's exactly how poetry works. The language that you use when you become self-conscious about a song is exactly the critical language you need to explain whether you like a poem or not. And, yeah, so